So for step 13, attaching the gears for the front gearbox, you can see we need to grab the other half of the front gearbox, and then we've got these gears and shafts and bearings. So these ball bearings are replacing the plastic bearings, and there's our shafts, and there's the two gears. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So it's actually the same side of the gearbox that we've been working on for this step, not the other side. So first off, we're going to put these ones in, and you can see that they want you to use this F7 piece, put the bearing inside of that, and then that entire unit is going to fit inside that front hole. So I got to push that whole thing in. There we go. So that's in place. That's what it's going to look like. Interesting. And I wonder if that must be all the way. Seems like it sticks out a bit, but there must be a reason. And then we're going to grease up all of this. Now you can see that there's the two gears, so I think we'll stick with this one first, and it shows you greasing everything up. But I'm going to put a bearing in there. If I can get that one to sit properly, yes. And there's going to be a bearing on this side, just like that. And then with this one, same thing. There's a bearing on this side and a bearing on that side. So all the bearings are in. Now, we've got to put this in place and grease this up. So I think we'll grease this side up first. So let's do that. There we go. And you can see, and I'll just put that aside for a second, we're using the BA14, which is the larger shaft, and it's showing greasing that up. Now, typically, because I'm using bearings, I don't tend to grease the shaft. But because this is inside the gearbox, there's not going to be a lot of grime and dirt, so I think I'm going to grease it because it might just add a little bit of extra protection and keep these gears moving smooth. Now I got to wipe my hands down here, and you can see that this one needs to fit down here in that hole. So I'm going to grab that and we're going to slide that in down there. So that's how that's going to sit right there. And then we're going to do the very same thing with this other one. And of course we've got the smaller shaft now, and same thing. I'm going to grease this up too. And I'm not putting a lot on, but I am going to put some. And with this, we're going to slide that through there, just like that. And they're showing that they want you to grease this up right away. So, okay, let's do that. All right, I got enough on there. And now that is going to slide into this hole right here. So we'll just move that into place, and there we go. There are those two gears in place. And I'll just wipe my hands down. So ultimately, that is what the step is. It's getting those two gears in place and getting the bearing for that main drive unit for the differential. So step 13 is complete. So we can now move on to step 14, and we're going to work on the left side of the gearbox. So for step 14, the front left gearbox, Well, we're going to need to put on this piece right here, which is, I'm sure, part of the battery door, as we did with the other side. And then we've got to put the other bearing and housing in, which looks like that, into the front end. And you can see they're showing it being put together there. So there's really only those two steps. So there's that piece, and of course the other side of our gearbox and our hardware. So I'll set this up and I'll put it together. So I think what we'll do is let's get this piece right here into that top part of the chassis first. So if we turn this around, this is going to sit right there, very similar to what we did with the other side. So we just need to get one of the screws into the holes here. So let's see if we can do that this way. There we go. Screw that in. And same thing again on that side. There we go. And again, these screws are tapping screws, but this piece here is the softer plastic. So when you get to the end, stop. Don't over tighten, because you could end up stripping it out if you put too much pressure on the screwdriver. Now I'm just going back and forth making sure that it actually is in, and it is. Perfect. So that part is done. So now what we need to do is we just need to put a bearing into here, pop this into this F7 piece, which pretty much is all the way down. It's interesting how it sticks out. See how it's just a little bit out there. And then we're going to take this, and it's going to sit this way into the housing, just like that. So push that, you heard the snap, so it's in place. Now, because these are, they're accessible from the outside, I am not going to grease these ones. I just don't want to do that. So I don't mind when it's internal, but these two bearings are going to be exposed to the elements, so that I'm not going to do. So there we go. There is step 14. So that means we can move on to step 15, and that means we're going to close the gearbox and put in the differential. So right away, let's get the differential in place. And you can see that they want you to grease this, because you can see how it's dark. We're going to grease this up. And we're going to grease the other side. There we go. And we've got to grease the entire gear. So let's do that. So we're going to grease this up all the way. Now it's a tough one. I do believe that a gearbox should have plenty of grease. And if you've only got these two tubes and that's all you want to, like, you're not going to buy any extra, it's a tough call as to how much grease you end up putting on these. Now I think we've got enough on this now, and of course it's going to blend in with the grease from the other gears in the that we already greased up, these ones. So you may have to just sort of decide for yourself how you want to do this. Now I am now going to take this and put this into place, and you can see that the screws are facing out, so that's how I'm going to do it. Now I'm just going to put this aside. Hopefully nothing falls out while I just take get my hands cleaned again. And now with that sitting there, we need to put on the other half, and this should come together nicely. And let's see, if we take that, that's got to sit right over top of that. But you've also got to see the lip that's there. That's also got to come together. I wonder if I can hold it this way for you, so you can see that that's going to have to slide into the holes that are on this side, just like the other. So that's got to slide into there, as you can see on the top, just like that right here. That's got to slide that way, and then hopefully everything else will come together. Except we've got one missing thing. That has to still slide through the hole, remember that. So that's still got to fit through the hole on that side, and then everything else should come together nicely. There we go. Mostly. Now, something is binding still. So what is it? Something. Aha! There we go. Now it's popped into place. Excellent. So now we've got the 3 screws. So there's 1 screw right there. And I'm just going to screw it in a little way, just so that I've got something held. We've got 1 screw right here. Again, I'm going to screw this in, but not all the way. And then we've got this screw right here, which has to go into there. Now these ones, since you're going from hard, it's hard plastic and you've got the tapping screw, you should be able to go all the way, and when you get to the end, you're going to know you're at the end. Yep. I'll do one last check on that one. Yep. And this shifted when I was trying to put that in, so I'll turn it the other way, hopefully. Pretty close. So there we go. There is step 15 complete. So now we're going to move on to step 16, but this is where things change, because you can see this is for the short wheelbase. Well, we don't want that. This is for the medium wheelbase, and we don't want that because this kit is the long wheelbase. So this is the instructions that we want for both step 16 and 17. So we'll be moving on to that now.